In today's installment of Things I Had No Idea Were on Steam, I'll be taking a look at a little game I played as a wee lad all the way back in the year of our Lord, 2003. But first, a quick question for all of you.
You like movies about gladiators?
If you do, well, I've got the video game for you. Gladiator, Sword of Vengeance. Dropped onto the PS2, Xbox, and PC, Sword of Vengeance was released in the wake of Roman-themed media that followed in the years after the critical success of Russell Crowe vehicle Gladiator. I can definitely recall the first time I'd ever heard of this game, it coming onto my radar via a preview presented by the game review show X-Play. Being a young, bloodthirsty lad, X-Play sold me on this game with the descriptions of the game's graphic violence alone, it being cutely censored by Adam Sessler with crappy drawings because this gore was just too hot for 2003 television. Funny how far we've come nowadays with stuff like The Walking Dead on cable TV, but I digress. As far as I can remember though, I never beat this game, it simply being too difficult for young me to get through. My Xbox copy eventually left my hands, being traded into GameStop so I could put some money down towards a copy of Halo 3. Cut forward to 2021 when I found this game on the website My Abandonware, marked with a money bag, meaning it could be purchased online now. One sale on Steam later and this little piece of childhood was restored to me. What I didn't know though was apparently this Steam version of Gladiator is a re-release by a company known as Throwback Entertainment. Apparently they purchased the acclaimed video game library after that company's bankruptcy back in 2004. Throwback seems to have been working on updating and porting some of Acclaim's more notable titles to modern hardware, Sword of Vengeance among the titles, it being ported to PC in 2016. So there's some fun backstory if you care to know. Onward to the game itself now, though. The game's intro sets you up with the story. Emperor Trajan, a noble, honest emperor, has died under very mysterious circumstances. Consular Orontius shoots up to the office and begins a despotic rule over the empire, his master plan being to demolish Rome and replace it with another city, Orontia. Raw narcissism on display here, almost on tier with that of Death Adder. To celebrate the coming destruction, Orontius has cleared the streets of Rome for the biggest, most epic gladiatorial games ever, and that's where the game begins. You're dropped into the rippling, oiled body of Invictus Thrax, champion of the previous emperor. Thrax is a certified gladiatorial badass in tight leather shorts, and being the champion of Trajan has put him on the shit list of Orontius, and these games are intended to be his last. You take control here and begin cleaving through the masses of gladiators Orontius sends your way. Since we're here, let's talk about Sword of Vengeance's biggest hook. As I mentioned briefly with the X-Play review, Sword of Vengeance sold itself with graphic violence it depicted. Is that violence as good as promised? Well...
Blood for the blood god! Blood for the blood god! Blood for the blood god!
Korn would be very pleased with this game. Living enemies get bloodier as you savage them, the crimson spills onto the sands of Rome, and the fatalities are just fun, gory exclamation points you get to pull on the strong variants of basic enemies in the game. A+, violence is cool. Thrax carves his way to the Colosseum and comes face to face with Orontius himself. The two trade barbs before Orontius sicks a first-person POV shot on Thrax, and all cuts to black. Except for these bars right here, which, quick side note, when I first booted Sword of Vengeance, it looked like this. I fixed this by switching to the public beta on Steam, but then it ended up looking like this. Not a big deal, but just kinda dumb looking. Chad Thrax here wakes up in Elysium and is greeted by Romulus and Remus. Guess Remus got over that whole being murdered by Romulus thing and is happy to work alongside him now. The two brothers inform me that the life force of Rome has been poisoned by Orontius in his takeover, further revealing that Trajan was assassinated by Orontius with the aid of dark gods Phobos and Deimos. The brothers also reveal that Thrax is the chosen champion of the gods, the one destined to kill Phobos, Deimos, and Orontius. Thrax agrees just to get vengeance on the Emperor, getting handed a gigantic Gladius. Jesus, I thought a Gladius was a short stabbing sword, not a giant long sword like this. Here you're given control once again in the game's overworld, Elysium. You first have to clear a challenge to gain your first magical ability, and then you're free to head off to the first real level of the game. Gameplay-wise, Sword of Vengeance is a pretty standard 3D beat-em-up. You have two types of attacks, light and heavy, and these two attack types can be mixed into combos which produce different kinds of attacks. There's a good amount of combinations available, so you'll have a lot to experiment with while playing, though you'll most likely fall into the comfort of using one or two of them. In addition to your longsword, you have two other weapons at your disposal once you collect them. The first being a gigantic axe, and the last one being the trademark gauntlets Thrax uses at the start of the game. It's kind of weird that the weapon I'd consider to be the game's trademark is the last one you acquire, but you get it pretty early, so it doesn't matter that much, I suppose. Your weapons are balanced in the obvious ways of speed and power. Gauntlets are very fast and very mobile, but do the least damage. The sword is a comfortable middle point, being average in both realms, and the axe is slow, but it hits hard, and even errant strikes can kill grunts in one hit. Each of these weapons are pretty usable, to be honest. I basically switch between them a lot, but you'll probably end up just using whatever one you like the most. There's a lock-on system present in this game, but I don't particularly care for how it functions, to be honest. Thrax will auto-lock onto one target, and that will be his focus. If you hold the shoulder button, not press it, hold it, you will switch to a different target as long as you keep that hold up. You can only switch between these two targets, and the game will auto-acquire new ones as the old ones expire. It's better than nothing, I guess. As for defensive mechanics, you have a dodge roll. That's it. Use it well. It also provides a little bunny hop too, which can be used to flip off enemies. No more reason to do that other than to be cool though. Which, thinking about these, is kind of unfair since enemies do have the ability to block, which completely stonewalls all of your attacks regardless of what angle you hit them from. That's fair. There's no technique to deal with it either, like a grab or something, so you just have to switch targets and hope that one doesn't start blocking as well. Your basic attacks can also be augmented by magic, and there's 3 of these as well. First off is the Strength of Hercules, which massively boosts your damage and gives you the ability of instant transmission. The second is the Power of Pluto, which lets you mark enemies with a ghostly soldier that attacks them. The real use of this ability, though, is that for every enemy you mark with a soldier, as long as you kill one of the targets, you will thusly suck the soul out of all of your marked targets and refill your life bar.
Your soul is mine.
This basically becomes your main way to sustain yourself through the later segments of the game, since life drops, I swear to God, stop existing after you get this power. And lastly, there comes Jupiter's Strength, which just adds bloom to your attacks. It also hits in an AoE, which is nice, but truth be told, you're better off just using the Strength of Hercules for damage. Anyway, Thrax begins his journey across the mythical lands of Roman and Greek mythos. I mentioned Greek mythos as well because the Romans basically did steal all of their myths of creation, but with just the names changed. I'll give the devs credit here in that they did keep things straight with the Roman names of the various gods. Except the 2 main villains who still use their Greek names of Phobos and Deimos instead of the Roman versions of Pavor and Formido. If there's something I can compliment about this game real quick is that it looks pretty nice for a 2003 title, or maybe they just updated the graphics to the 2016 re-release. Either way, you can look at this game without wanting to gouge your eyes out at all. As you journey across the lands, you'll do battle with not just random gladiator types, but an array of mystical enemy types as well. You'll fight the classic skeleton warriors a la Jason and the Argonauts. You'll fight Cyclops as well, who resemble silverback gorillas more than anything now, on top of their skeletons as well. You'll also run across these weird fishy people with double swords who pirouette at you with a deadly dance to attack, and come out of these giant gross egg sacs later on. Then you have the Wraiths, which are just boring imitations of every other basic enemy that you fight in-game. The Psychopampos are these weird bloated dudes wielding hammers who apparently in mythology are the guides of dead souls to the underworld. They don't do a very good job in this game, that's for sure. And lastly, serving as essentially mini-bosses all across the game are the Fetters, massive brutes wielding little axes like toothpicks. Fetters are sacks of HP who hit like dump trucks. Thankfully though, if you just keep attacking them, they pose almost no threat. Sure, they'll always bust out a shove to knock you back if you're in their face constantly, but it doesn't do any damage, and while it's obviously supposed to set them up for their basic attack has such a hilariously long wind-up, you have to have the reflexes of a dead cat to get hit by it. I said also that they pose almost no threat. Almost, because Fetters also have an attack called the Titty Twister of Death. The Titty Twister comes out insanely quick, and I'm almost confident will kill you in one shot if it connects. Very, very fair. Also, during my playthrough of this game, I ran into a nasty bug where a Fetter went for the Titty Twister. I believe I interrupted it to prevent the damage proc, but I still got hit with the grab, which put me into the soul drain animation while taking no damage. This soft locked me, so I had to quit to Elysium and do the whole level over again. Hooray! Which, dying isn't typically too bad, you'll just have to repeat the section you're doing, but unfortunately the cutscenes and dialogue in this game are completely unskippable, so hope you don't mind repeating segments and hearing dialogue from children or horny goddesses. Funnily enough though, when this happened, the game popped the achievement for collecting all 4 sword gauges. In investigating that, I also found out I didn't have the achievement for all 12 health gauges, which I actually did have. Good update. Speaking of health slots and weapon gauges, those are some of the upgrades you can acquire in this game, on top of item drops in the middle of combat for some reason. However, you don't acquire them via an in-game currency of some kind, you just have to clear these challenges that are sprinkled throughout the levels. These are basically one of 2 types with an arbitrary disadvantage slapped onto them, like reduced health or be restricted to using only one weapon. You either have to kill a lot of enemies or smash pots that require one of your magics to be active to destroy. These challenges also give you collectibles and will have your weapon upgrades as well. So basically, unless you're a masochist, you'll be doing a majority of these. Some of these challenges can be a bit out of the way, so you'll have to do some exploring to upgrade yourself well enough to face the challenges come late game. These challenges also extend into the core gameplay of Gladiator itself. You're either killing lots of things or using magic to stuff up enemy holes to stop them from spawning so you can advance through an area. This gets boring pretty quickly to be honest, which is a problem that would be relieved significantly if the game's combat was actually engaging or fun. Okay, so herein lies the biggest problem with Gladiator Sword of Vengeance. The combat is just fucking boring. It's not bad by any stretch for reference, but it just gets tiresome. There is no real skill to the combat in this game. While you do have a variety of strings available to you, you're very quickly just going to find the most effective one and abuse it, or you're just going to mash random strings constantly. Both are equally as effective, especially so when you're popping Strength of Hercules and you effortlessly cleave through all of your enemies. Sure, the game advises you to mix up your combos to build your weapon gauge up for the bonuses it offers, but you build it far faster by just killing things, which is easier to achieve with the aforementioned strategies. Truth be told, the game is a bit more difficult at the start when you only have like 3 or 4 health bars and your opponents hit for a full bar of damage every attack, but once you start rolling some health and weapon upgrades, you essentially become unstoppable. You don't unlock any new techniques or moves at all either, you just get new models for your weapons and that's about it. Also, when it comes to doing the hole plugging style challenges, the game makes it infinitely more complicated by not allowing you to freeform combo. What I mean when I say that is, unless you're locked onto an enemy for combat, you only have this wimpy little swing available to you. So unless your enemies conveniently position themselves behind the thing you need to hit, you'll always find yourself canceling combat, running as fast as you can to your objective, and smashing it with that crappy swing. This would be a lot easier without the lock-on chaining you down in this very instance. It becomes interminably boring at this point, and you basically just start trying to get through the game as fast as possible since the combat isn't engaging in the slightest. Honestly, my playthrough took around 8 hours to do, and if this game had gone on any longer, well, I probably would have started a new game to review just out of sheer boredom. But I beat it, so here's how the rest of the story goes. You carve through 2 levels and meet Phobos, a person who's literally supposed to be an incarnation of fear, portrayed in such a non-intimidating way. Holy hell. I've never been less scared by a god in a video game. I'm confident I could bully him. The actual boss battle sucks eggs as well. Phobos conjures up a shadow body and repeats the exact same pattern over and over again. Stomp, slash slash, body slam, and now he's vulnerable to attack. Hercules smashed him into the wall twice and opened up the sunroof to actually force him away for the first time. Boring. And you want to know the worst part? This is every boss battle in the game. Sure, they changed the details slightly. Oh, you have to open up the sunroof first with your magic, but it's exactly the same. Both Phobos fights and both Deimos fights too. The final fight mixes it up by making you fight both of them at once, but it doesn't even make it harder really. You just have to hit Phobos into Deimos. What, you couldn't think of anything else to claim? Jesus. Deimos is at least a little bit more intimidating with her shrouded ghoulish face, but the horny level being off the charts really makes it kind of weird.
I've been shafted once already, my lady. I'm keen not to make a habit of it.
I don't need you alive to satisfy me, Thrax. I can get enjoyment from even the coldest of corpses.
Back to horny jail with you. In the game's climax, you return to Rome to confront Aruntius after killing both Phobos and Deimos. There's some cooler set pieces here in Rome, it being an imitation of Hades with the Charon boat and the heads of Cerberus spewing out enemies. You get to the arena and Aruntius kills his daughter in a panic to resurrect both Phobos and Deimos to kill you. Let the sun shine in, kill Phobos and Deimos one final time, and kill Aruntius in super dramatic fashion.
No! You can't kill me! I am a god! For the gods! Penetration!
Aruntius dies, the life force of Rome is fully restored, and the brothers Romulus and Remus arrive to congratulate Thrax before telling him he's now fully a champion of the gods, and he has far more battles ahead of him as an agent of theirs. Thrax tells him to rack off and he'll fight their battles for them if he feels like it, and would rather actually enjoy his newfound freedom for a bit. Thrax mounts his helmet onto his sword and walks off, bringing the game to a close with a poem.
Murder breathed her bloody stream. And here, where buzzing nations choked the ways, here, where the Roman millions blame or praise, was life or death, the playthings of a crowd. Then in its magic circle raise the dead. Heroes have trod this spot. 'Tis on their dust ye tread.
I honestly thought this game was kind of lacking, so I decided to look around and see if there's any sort of cut content, but all I found was that there were lady gladiators in this game, and you can even see them fully in motion in the early trailers. Why they were cut, I'm not sure. Gladiatresses did exist after all. I'm gonna reckon they probably just didn't want to deal with the controversy of having women violently being hacked to bits by Thrax. Cowards. So at the end of the day, what do I think about Gladiator, Sword of Vengeance? Well, it really earned that 3 out of 5 from X-Play back in the day. Gladiator is an okay game, but its biggest problem lies in how utterly tedious and boring it is. Combat challenges can be easily surmounted by simple mashing with literally any 3 of your weapons. Combat doesn't really get any more in-depth as you advance either, and it's not like you unlock anything to spice up your gameplay at all. Once you have your 3 weapons, you have your entire moveset. And your strings as well, it's not like they're special at all. 3 hits apiece with different hitboxes, but no unique properties to them, so it's not like you have an incentive to break them out at any point. Just smash your buttons and you'll win pretty much every challenge easily. Gladiator's Sword of Vengeance just kinda falls to the wayside when all is said and done. Superior beat-em-ups of this style already exist. Hell, the first Devil May Cry game came out just 2 years before this one. Hell, just a few years later in 2005 came God of War, and in 2006 there was God Hand as well. The genre evolved pretty rapidly, and there's just no real reason to play this game outside the cool violence, but I mean, God of War has that as well. At the end of the day, I don't think Sword of Vengeance is a bad game by any stretch. I've played much worse in my time, but if I had to sum it up, it's just okay. And really, a game just being okay is worse than being god-awful or insanely good. You just kind of forget games that are okay, and Sword of Vengeance kind of fits that to a T. Anyway, I'm Hades Manticore, this is City State Manticore, and I dearly hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like and a comment if you did, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.